Strangeness is a necessary ingredient in beauty. This is one of my favourite quotes by Charles Baudelaire, and it's something that I take through with me in life, and something that also really helped me develop my self-love while I was growing up and still to this day. So I want to speak on it a little bit and how I kind of apply it to my life. I do believe that some of the most beautiful people in this world embrace their own uniqueness and their own individuality, their strangeness, if you will. And I do not just think about this from a physical aspect, but also, personality-wise, the traits that they have internally as well. I believe that the most magnetic people in this world actually have something about them that is a little bit unique or strange that they really lean into within themselves. They kind of just, I don't know, it's like they aren't afraid to go against the grain in some way. I also believe this to relate to also, how people look. I find that I often am drawn to the people who have the most unique features or striking features that you don't see all the time now. That is not to say that a lot of the faces in social media that you see are not beautiful. Often they are, but I feel as if there is something to be said about a face that is unique, that looks different. And I think that is to do with the fact that in today's day and age that we live in society, we are often taught to love the same thing, find the same thing attractive. Especially with social media now, it's so easy to influence people's minds. There's always a trend going on, with some feature about how people look that kind of influences our own perceptions of what beauty is. And also from a young age, we were taught to fit in, we were taught to fit a specific mould. It's kind of how society has trained us. I remember personally when I was a kid wanting to change everything about myself, I would read in magazines, or I was kind of growing up in the day and age where social media started to become a bit more prevalent, and looking at things like that online where, there was voices and opinions saying this is beautiful, this is not, this feature's appreciated, this feature is not. And it kind of makes you want to change yourself. And also, society now capitalizes on that, there's a billion-dollar industry that capitalizes on our own insecurities and the fact that we've been told what is good and what is not when it comes to our facial features and things like that, right? We have the cosmetic industry. Not only that, we have fillers and things like that obviously change your face. I'm not going to sit here and say that people who haven't had work done aren't beautiful. They are in their own way, I'm sure. And also, that speaks something bigger about healing and insecurity. And I get it. If you're insecure about something and you want to change it, you are well within your rights to do so. But sometimes I do believe that often with an insecurity, it can manifest itself and focus on one thing. But if you do not actually root out the problem within yourself and develop your self-love in that way and your self-appreciation, it will kind of just jump to something else. You change one thing and then there's another thing you notice about yourself that you don't like. And I think that's why, to me, people who embrace something about themselves that, doesn't quite fit the mold or a beauty standard or whatever. Did my lighting just change? I don't know. It's incredibly beautiful. I think there's nothing sexier than a woman who can embrace herself and who loves herself exactly the way she is and kind of almost pushes back and says no, I don't need to change that about myself. I love the way I look, just as I am. I think it roots itself in authenticity, that's why, and also it shows me that somebody has truly learned to love themselves. Once again, this is not me bashing people getting work done and stuff like that. This is just me speaking to something that has helped me love myself. I remember I didn't really see, features of mine. I will say now, my features have gone in and out of trend. Everybody's has at some point, I'm sure. And whilst it can be flattering to see that on social media and people say, I love this, that can change tomorrow. That changes so quickly. You should not be relying on an external influence to determine how you feel about yourself. And that is where self-love and learning to value yourself really comes in. And this is where this quote comes in for me. I have always kind of said this to myself, and it's helped me really appreciate my own individuality in ways, not only appearance-wise, but also within my personality. You know, there's things that I like that when I was younger, I used to kind of hide and not really bring to the forefront of my personality, thinking that people might think it was weird, you know. And once again, even things like that now go in and out of trend on social media, you know, like the things people like and like what's deemed as, you know, cool or relevant. That it should be about you. It should be about what makes you happy. What makes you happy, not only internally, but also when you wake up and you look at yourself in the mirror. Are you happy with yourself? Do you love yourself? Are you telling yourself good things? Are you appreciating yourself? The most captivating people always embrace their strangeness or their unique features. There's something about them that's different. I think it's just so refreshing to see. And we should live in a world where being an individual is valued and appreciated. And I do believe that in ways we go towards that, but then in other ways it's completely counteracted at the same time, with things like social media and stuff like that. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? Social media gives a platform and space for individuality, but at the same time things are so heavily pushed on there as to how we should perceive things. Yeah, I'm not even just talking about, you know, beauty standards now, it's everything, you know. And I think to me, when someone is authentic like that with themselves and loves themselves like that, it's very magnetic, because it's almost like they are connected to their soul. They're connected to who they are. They've explored who they are. They know themselves. You know yourself and you love yourself. And I think there is no better energy to be in. There is nothing sexier. There's nothing more attractive. I have notes that I'm looking at, by the way, so I'm kind of going through. I keep, like, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm like trying to hit all my points in my little notebook that I've got. So yeah, just gonna reconsolidate. In making this video, I want to encourage people to embrace themselves and to learn to love themselves for who they are. There's always something I always think about when it comes to beauty and things like that, where it's like, you look at the flowers around, they're all different looking, but they're all beautiful. I think, you know, there is beauty in uniqueness, there is beauty in variety, there is beauty in being different. And yes, you might have your favourite flower, but you know, one flower's beauty does not take away from the others, and that's how you should also look at life and the people around you and yourself. You know, if someone being beautiful doesn't take away from your own beauty. If someone has a feature that you deem beautiful or society says is beautiful, that doesn't necessarily mean that yours, if it's different, isn't beautiful. And this is something I had to teach myself, you know, especially like, I am a natural ginger. I have a little bit of a tint in my hair right now, but I am a natural ginger, a little bit lighter than this. I had freckles and things like that, and I'm sure everybody has been through something where like they felt like a feature of theirs they didn't like, they weren't comfortable with growing up. I think a big growth point as well is kind of almost coming to appreciate that feature. When you get to a point where that one feature of yours that you really didn't like growing up is suddenly like your favorite, that takes a lot of growth, and I'm proud of you if you've done that. And also when it comes to this whole narrative of comparing, which I think women are taught to do a lot, and I'm sure men too. I'm sure you can relate to that message. Obviously, I'm speaking as a woman and what I can relate to. I'm trying to like gather my words. I think that this element of comparison, also kind of brings this competition side to it, where like women are taught from such a young age to compete with one another. And I think that this also kind of goes into like connection with women and learning not to compete with other women and to appreciate other women for their successes, their beauty, their goals, whatever it be in that way. It helps so much when it comes to building real, lasting and good relationships. You know, women connecting with each other. We should be connecting with each other and loving each other and appreciating each other, not tearing each other down and not trying to compete with one another. There is no need to compete. There doesn't need to be competition in these ways. Society does try and pit women against each other, and it's really sad. And I think that a way that people do that as well is like this competition of like beauty, and like you see on social media, women tearing each other down. You can appreciate someone else's beauty without deterring from your own. And that goes to other elements in life as well, obviously. You can appreciate someone else's success. Doesn't mean you're not successful. Comparison will always be the thief of joy. And also alongside that, often people want what they can't have. You know, we're taught to want something that's always different from us. And I think the best thing to do is instead embrace what you have, water what you have, in the flower metaphor, and learn to love yourself for who you are. And yes, then if you want to change something, go ahead. You know, who am I to stop you? I'm just a person on the internet. But at least then you're rooted in a place of self-love instead of self-hatred or, you know, criticizing yourself. It's a much healthier mindset to go from, and it will influence your entire life. And also, like, screw these industries capitalizing off your insecurities. Are you going to allow that? I'm not. I'm not going to be told what is beautiful and what is not beautiful on my face. That's like, no. You know? I think that is everything. I'm still looking at my notes. Yeah, my last little bit that I wrote down. Look at yourself in a different light and through a different lens. Do not filter yourself through this lens of like what social media is telling you, what society is telling you. I have done it where I've looked in the mirror and there's almost been a soundtrack of things that I've heard and things that I've seen like flashing before my eyes, and then looking at myself in the mirror and it's like something from a horror film where you're like ripping yourself apart, and you just need to sometimes learn to be like, no, I actually refuse to speak to myself like this. I refuse to look at myself like this. I deserve better for myself. I deserve to treat myself better. Because you also wouldn't take that from anybody else, right? Like, you wouldn't take someone saying those things to you that you probably say to yourself sometimes. So, like, you're going to let you bully yourself? Like, no. And also, I think my final point, which I already touched on, is just seeing a woman in an energy of self-acceptance and self-love and self-appreciation is the most beautiful energy a woman can be in. Like, it's just incredible. It's like, it's mesmerizing. It really is. You know, that's the energy you want to hold for your life. And I'm not saying you're not going to have bad days, but on those bad days, you are kind to yourself and you learn to speak to yourself better, and that will change your life. So yeah, that's everything. I love you guys, and I'm sure I will see you soon, or speak to you soon. Enjoy your day. You are loved, and I love you.